I asked Republican candidate for president, Senator Tim Scott out of South Carolina, about that strike and much more this weekend. Senator Scott, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Good to be with you, Bill.
We just heard priorities from both sides, and you've been outspoken about the union demands. How would you solve this?
Well, listen, one of the things you cannot do is what we've seen Joe Biden do with the first bill coming out of Congress when he became president. He provided $86 billion to shore up the pension plans of the unions. That leaves a false impression on the minds of the union workers, and it encourages the union bosses to continue to sell something that can never be. And that's a major issue I have with what's happening with the current UAW struggle. Their bosses continue to make promises that they cannot keep. I sat, Bill, in a finance hearing and heard a union widow, come before the committee because her monthly income had cut from $4,000 down to $1,000. I want to make sure that we don't see that situation ever again.
All right. And speaking of those workers, sir, in Iowa this week, you said the following. You said, I think Ronald Reagan gave us a great example when federal employees decided they were going to strike. He said, you strike, you're fired. Simple concept to me. To the extent that we can use that once again, absolutely. That's the quote from you. You've taken some heat for that comment. The problem, Senator, is that these are not federal employees, and to win maybe ultimately, you might need some of their votes. Was that a mistake?
No, it was not a mistake. And if you heard the whole in context, you'd come to a different conclusion. I said without any question, the federal government does not fire private sector employees without any question. The question I was raising, which was a question, is in fact, if we had a better president, one like Ronald Reagan, we would not have seen the $86 billion in the first $1.9 trillion package. I mentioned that specifically after those comments were made. I also mentioned the fact that anytime you have a president who says he's willing to go down and picket with the workers during the daytime, but he cuts deals at night with the environmentalists, that literally destroys those jobs. The union bosses and this president are working against the very workers who are out there picketing. We need a president who tells people the truth. The contracts that they're signing for a 4-day work week with more pay, more benefits, but fewer hours is one that doesn't work today. It certainly will not work in the future. But instead of having a president on the picket line, we need this president on the border, the southern border, helping us close the southern border. So we have two fundamental challenges that we see today. The first one is a president who overpromises and underdelivers, leaving in peril the workers, whether they're union or not. And secondly, we have a president who doesn't solve the looming issues of the day, like our southern border, that's led to the deaths of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl in the last 12 months. As President of the United States, I will fix our southern border by closing it and finishing the wall, use $5 billion to use the military-grade technology that's available today on our borders.
Okay,
this is simple for us to solve, but we need to have a president who gets the job done.
Let me see if I can fire through a couple more topics. You brought it up just there at the border. This week, the president, some New York Democrats are blaming people like you. They're blaming Republicans. Listen here.
Unfortunately, the mega Republican in Congress and my predecessor spent 4 years gutting the immigration system under my predecessor. They continue to undermine our border security today, blocking bipartisan reform.
What's missing in this equation are Republicans who will get back to Washington, stop talking about shutting down the government, roll up their sleeves and work with the Biden administration.
So I know you disagree with that. You just ticked off a number of things that you would do to fix the border. Texas has tried to take action repeatedly, and they're often sued by Washington. Why do you think that is?
Crazy. Well, because Washington is out of touch with the rest of the nation. One of the reasons why we need to have change in the nation's capital is because Washington is so consistently broken that the American people don't trust the people in Washington. I understand that. As a guy who spends some time in Washington, but a whole lot of time in South Carolina, I can just say to the leaders of this nation today, bless your heart, which is a Southern way of saying you guys just don't get it. Here's what the Governor Abbott is saying. Sending the illegal immigrants to New York City where Mayor Adams says to the Biden administration, you guys don't get it. They sound like the governor of Texas. When you see the kind of spats that are happening within the Democrat Party, it's because President Biden refuses to fix a fixable problem on our southern border by not selling the construction material to finish the wall. That's what he's doing. Using the construction material to complete the wall.
So,
we need a president who reinstates the Remain in Mexico policy.
Yeah, so some of these topics may come up. The next debate is a few days away, and you're already in California. I want to take you back to last month. This is the first debate in Milwaukee when you had this moment.
The best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America, that was quick.
It might have been a funny moment there. Question, though, serious question. Is that the Tim Scott we see on Wednesday night?
Yeah, I think what you just played is exactly what I hope you see on Wednesday night, is a guy being authentically who he is. I want to be myself. The goal is for us to be able to have a conversation about the most important issues facing this nation and, frankly, defend the next generation of kids who are losing hope that the American dream will work for a kid in rural Iowa or inner city Chicago. I'm the defender for those who cannot find someone to stand up. I will be the voice for those who feel voiceless. Because I've been that kid. I felt like there was no hope for my future living in poverty and growing up in a single-parent household. But I will talk about the contrasts that exist on that stage, because the American people deserve someone they can have confidence in, because we've lived a similar journey, that our obstacles became our opportunities. And frankly, looking in the mirror, the problems revealed the promise. Because we are Americans. Well, we are remarkable. Yeah, and we have to act like it.
Yeah, here's your challenge, too, though. Since that last debate, President Trump hasn't lost any ground. Here is our poll from Iowa this week. He's steady at 46%. You've dropped a few points. And in your home state of South Carolina, Trump's also at 46%. Nikki Haley's at 18%, and you trail there at 9%. I think the last question for you is this. Do you need a breakout moment in this debate?
I don't think so. What I need to do is to continue to do what I have been doing, showing up. The more time I spend in Iowa, the better off I will be. The more time I spend in New Hampshire, the better off I will be. The good news is polls don't vote, but people do. And so I need to make sure that I find myself in front of the most people as possible on a consistent basis. The more I do that, the better off we will be. The good news is this campaign is just getting ready to see the fourth quarter. I love football season. I love football. And I like the fourth quarter.
Well, it kicks off on Wednesday night. We're looking forward to it as well. Sir, thank you for your time. Senator Tim Scott, thanks for being with us. Also a reminder, the second Republican primary debate is this week at the Reagan Library, Simi Valley, California. You can see it all on Fox Business, simulcast on Fox News Channel come Wednesday night. Should be a good one.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.